There you go. Take a big one here as we return. Last time I left you, don't think that I forgot. All right, the last time I left you was a Tuesday video. All right, what happened? Gave you 3 plays. Took the day off on Wednesday. Thursday was NFL, so we don't do this. And what happened? You thought I'd forget. We swept the board on a Tuesday, and I'm back to keep that momentum going. 3 more plays. Yes, no, run first inning. I'll decide. You can tail, you can fade, do whatever you like. Hit me up in the comment section. Of course, the good, the bad, the ugly, even if that's pointing a finger at me and saying you're ugly. I get it. I've heard it. Lindquist tells me every day. Also, we want you subscribed here to the fastest growing sports betting community across YouTube. That's right. Oh, by the way, thumbs up button, notification bell, so you don't miss anything going on here. I'm going to tell you what's going on at DraftKings, BetMGM as well. We have some great opportunities for you over at some sports books that we want you to take advantage of. It's right below. Oh, look at this. Now, earlier in the day, shame on me. Earlier in the day, because I should be honest, right? As much as we talk about losing value as these videos go on, you have now gained a shit ton of value if you missed, for example, the written piece earlier today. I went at minus 110. I still love this play now at plus 115 even more. Emphatically love this play at plus 115. Why? Because it's Braves Phillies, Jake Odorizzi countering Aaron Nola. Phillies have seen their number 2 in the lineup and Nola struggle at times, especially early in games. That's an opportunity to get to Nola. The Braves have the bats to do that. Yes, Nola deals with this .98 whip. It's no joke, but the problem for him, at least a problem if you want to identify 1 or 1.5, has been early, where you can get to him, get on the base path, and that's all we're targeting, especially with a plus money play. The Braves are loaded with Ks, I get it, but they also have some pop in their bats, and that's enough to turn a bad pitch around the base path entirely and make it around trippers. So Atlanta just one of 10 teams averaging .50 or better runs per first inning on the road, and they have their best chance doing this early. The Phillies, how about this? They average .65 runs per first inning at home. That's 8th best in all of baseball. They face a pitcher in Jake Odorizzi. Not good. Not good. 1.43 whip. Not good. 18.6% K rate. Brutal. Yeah. First play here is absolutely going to be taking advantage of plus money. And look, while Aaron Nola and the gap between Aaron Nola and Jake Odorizzi is so wide, make no mistake, folks, you can easily see the Atlanta Braves being the team here to push this thing to a yes run first inning. It's not like we're relying on the Phillies just to get to Jake Odorizzi, and that's it. All right. Told you, a couple of things happening here. I want to tell you about DraftKings. We also have a great opportunity for you below, a link with BetMGM. So whatever it is, there are sports betting opportunities for wherever you are new to books. And look, the beauty of OddsShopper and what we do here, it's not just the free site on YouTube, it's the free OddsShopper site itself with the written content and all of the tools, most importantly, available for you. How OddsShopper works and why it works and why it's so successful is it's pulling across all of the books available to you at your state. So whatever state you're in, if it's a brand new state to sports betting, or if you've been around for a little bit like me here in PA and New Jersey, whatever it is, you've got multiple books in state. You want to be signed up with multiple books. And look, even if you're just letting money sit there waiting for a good opportunity, well, I don't bet at that book. Well, have an account open at that book. Have some money open at that book, because this stuff doesn't hang around. If OddsShopper correctly identifies a good line for you, it's not going to stay there long. It's a mistake, or somebody's beating that sharp book that you know. So that's not going to stick around for a long time. You want to be able to jump on that. I can't tell you how many times before in the past, or just deal with people who tell me, man, I had this thing live and I missed that shit because I didn't have money in my account. I'm sitting there trying to deposit $50. Click the link below. DraftKings will turn $5 on.
Welcome to Stokastic.com's On the Contrary for NFL Week 3. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm joined, as usual, by DFS GOAT Alex Baker. You can find him on Twitter at AwesomeODFS. And today, our guest is reigning underdog best ball champ, Liam Murphy. You can find him on Twitter at ChessLiam. This show is sponsored by Prize Picks, which offers daily prop-based contests. While you're coming in, please give us a like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. Liam, how is your NFL season going so far?
It's going okay. I had a couple hits, but donked it off in the main slates. I'm looking forward because I've been traveling these first 2 weekends. Not ideal if you're trying to gamble on the games. I had a wedding last weekend. It was great, but looking forward to today's show and trying to win it all back on Sunday.
It is a little bit tougher when you can't really focus on the slate. For me, at least, I don't know how much of an impact it really has on how I do on these slates, but it feels like if you don't fully focus, you're not going to win. But really, I mean, Liam, your whole thing is best ball anyway, so you're not going to really know how you're doing until December, right?
Yeah, and I don't like to bet against my portfolio, so just chuck the best ball guys into the DFS lineups. If we're right, we're really right.
Some more Bills again, just Bills every week.
Hey, it's a good year for that.
Seems to be a winning strategy. Yeah. Alex, last week on this show, 7 minutes in, you named Tua as your favorite contrarian quarterback of the week. Tua, of course, went off last week, was the top quarterback play of the week. Are you ready for some more fire takes today?
Definitely. That's what we do every week is fire takes. So that one was crazy because it's like you needed 5 players from that game to win last week. Not usually a strategy I recommend, so it wasn't a good week for me, but hopefully people one of my favorite things about DFS is sometimes people learn the wrong lessons and then carry them forward. So it's now everyone might be chasing those game stacks, and I don't really think that's a great strategy. So I'm like, all right, that could be a good thing.
So you said 5 players is too much, but last week you were advocating for a double stack, right? So pairing your quarterback with 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
So is 4 kind of the more typical, more what you'd be more inclined to go to?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm more concerned about the number of players I have with my quarterback, which I'm comfortable having 3 guys. I did some tests in Fantasy Cruncher, and based on kind of my calculations, the best setting, all things equal, is 2 paired with your quarterback. Of course, there are some lineups and some situations that 3 is better, 1 is better. But then when you have 2 run backs, I just don't think that's a very good idea because one of the problems with having 2 run backs is you're kind of flipping versus the opposing team's quarterback to your quarterback, where if you have 2 players on their team and 2 players on the other team, it's anyone's guess who the winning quarterback will be. So that's not ideal.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's I don't typically do the 5 players from one game kind of game stack, but I guess it can work out in those real shootout games. But yeah, I see your point about competing quarterbacks in that sense. All right, so for this show in general, I think the format we're going to follow is we're going to go position by position. I'm going to ask you guys to give me a player. To tell me if you're willing to eat any chalk at the position, and then of course we're going to get to your favorite contrarian plays at each position, and then any potential fades to talk about there. But first, I'll just start with some strategy. I'll go right back to you, Alex. Do you have any general strategy comments about this slate? Anything unique about this one relative to other NFL slates? And it's okay if you don't have anything. Just wondering if you have any overarching thoughts on this slate for large field GPPs.
Yeah, I think that with this slate, I think you're going to see some real chalk games. Like Minnesota is going to be super chalk versus the Lions, and then I think the Rams versus Arizona, that one's going to be super popular. So maybe one of the better strategies could be finding a game that people aren't really targeting and going for some sort of outlier in a game that no one has instead of the game that everyone has.
All right. Well, I'm glad I've got you here for that again this week. Liam, how about you? Do you have any overarching general strategy thoughts about this slate in particular?
I don't think this is unique to this slate, but almost every slate, people are going to want to play the wide receivers. And so if you pay up for the expensive running backs, you're inherently going to get a little unique there. Like if you jam 2 expensive running backs, because everyone wants to play the Monras, the Diggs, and especially when the pricing hasn't caught up early in the season. Like some of these players, it's the cheapest pricing we'll see the lifetime of them probably. And so I think the field's pretty sharp to that. And I mean, I want to play these guys too, even if they're catching ownership. So I don't know if I'm going to build too many 3 expensive running back teams, but you can almost guarantee uniqueness that way.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's not necessarily unique to this slate, but it kind of also might be just because of what we've seen so far this year, where those expensive running backs have just failed over and over, and then the expensive wide receivers have done well. So I think while I think that you're correct that is generally a strategy, people like to jam in the expensive wide receivers, that might be even more so this week because week 1, week 2, we did not see the expensive running backs doing well. So yeah, I like that call that maybe that is a way to get a little bit unique if you can find some more expensive running backs that you like. All right, let's jump into the position by position discussion. We'll start with quarterbacks. I'll start with you, Liam. Are there any quarterbacks who are chalky this week that you're just willing to eat the chalk?
I'd be lying if I said I've gone into the full ownership yet on Friday, but Josh Allen, I'm assuming, is going to be chalky. And I mean, I'm a Bills fan. I'm willing to roll with that chalk. The chalk guys I probably don't want to eat is like a Kirk Cousins, a Jared Goff. Like I feel like I'll play pieces there, but I'm not sure if I want to eat that chalk. And then the other chalky guy, like I think Allen's just going to eat all that ownership. So any of the other expensive quarterbacks could maybe be unique.
Yeah, so we've got Josh Allen at 10% projected ownership. So he's a little bit chalky, but pretty reasonable ownership there.
And I'll X out Tua. I'm not gonna do Tua and hope that the field chases that. What do you guys got on ownership on him?
So we only have Tua at 3.7% projected ownership with a 7.3% chance of booming. So he actually looks really good in the tools. I guess I don't know to what extent the tools factor in. Alex, maybe tell us past performance and people who are scoreboard watching.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's a big factor in the ownership. So okay. Like he was the winning quarterback last week, so that means he's definitely going to get a bump this week. And but there's a lot of quarterbacks everyone's going to want to go to this week, and I think that Liam named a few, like Kirk Cousins and Josh Allen. Those are kind of projected to be super chalk, and after that, it kind of Jalen Hurts as well. And after that, I think that the ownership's pretty modest for every other team.
Okay, yeah. So I mean. We only have Cousins and Josh Allen at 10% projected ownership. So there's no true chalk this week. So maybe I could have probably skipped this question just because, I mean, 10%, that's not really so chalky that you need to necessarily worry about it as much as some slates where you're going to get quarterbacks who are 30% owned. So not as big of a concern this week. Did you have any additional thoughts on quarterback chalk that you are willing to eat? I mean, are you okay with the ownership of these guys at the top, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm willing to eat the chalk if I think it's good chalk. And one guy that's kind of popping up is maybe not a great play is Jalen Hurts. I think always it looks really good as an individual play, but then once you stack them up, it looks like it gets a little bit tougher. So that might be a guy to avoid of the popular ones.
Okay.
But, the other guys look pretty solid.
Okay. Well, let's get into some plays that we like here, and I'll start with you, Alex, after your call on Tua last week. Give you the first crack at finding the best contrarian quarterback. Any quarterbacks that you like this week who are under, say, around 5% projected ownership?
Well, the guy that I think he's top of our top stacks tool, so but he's only 5% owned, Derek Carr. I think that people were super on Derek Carr last week, and he really disappointed. But what I've been noticing with the Raiders is they've been super pass heavy this year so far, and adjusting for game script, they've been passing about 70% of the time in neutral game scripts. So that's one of the highest marks in the league. And then you got Devontae Adams, who really, really disappointed last week. So not expecting to be nearly as popular this week. So I think this is a spot where it's going to really pay to go back to the well.
Okay, interesting. I like that call. We got a super chat from Eric Traub, sent us $9.99, just said, "Good morning, Caruso, Neil, and Liam. I'm just here to thank you for the great content and to say go Lions, biting kneecaps off this year." Hate to say it, Eric, I am not going to be cheering for the Lions with you this week, but I appreciate the super chat. All right. So you like Derek Carr around 5% owned. Liam, I'll throw it to you. So you said you haven't really dug into ownership yet. Do you want me to throw some names at you of players that are,
I can guess some low owned guys that and Alex tweeted this out, but I am a Mariota stan, he kind of is like the poor man's Konami quarterback. And I drafted him on a ton of best ball teams where, he got 12 rush attempts week 1. He got 6 last week against a tough Rams D. The Seahawks, you can move the ball on. Kind of the scary thing is like both these teams may want to play, like the Seahawks probably just want to like play really paced down, but I could see Mariota sneaking in a couple on the ground. And Pitts is real cheap. London's affordable. Like another guy who probably could be the lowest salary we see for him for a long time. So I would say Mariota fits in there for a guy I like.
All right, yeah. So Mariota, we have at 2.7% projected ownership with a 7.8% chance of booming. So the boom bust tool definitely agrees with you on Mariota. He's a guy that I kind of like. I wanted to do those Falcon stacks in best ball, but I was a little bit scared of is Desmond Ridder going to take over at some point? So I kind of have a mix of both of them. I think I have a little bit more Mariota because I think that there's a good chance that he does hold on to his job all year. So I'm with you, but I also think he wasn't drafted every league. So being, under 8%, not the end of the world on a guy like Marcus Mariota. I like that call though this week. Marcus Mariota, definitely a interesting quarterback this week. What about fades, Liam? Are there any quarterbacks that you think you're going to fade? I guess you already mentioned Kirk Cousins. Is he your top fade of the week?
Yeah, it just feels wrong that he's like $100 more than Joe Burrow. He's $200 more than Matt Stafford against the Cardinals. I get that he's in a great spot, but I'm not going to go there. I probably won't go Tua against the Bills D. Tua's been facing a lot of blitz, and the Bills have not been blitzing at all. They're just getting home with 4 pass rushers. We do need to check on the Bills D if they're going to get Micah Hyde back, their safety, because he's a big part of shutting. They do have no experience at cornerback, so that's kind of scary. But I'm probably paying up for Allen or just paying up for the other elite guys. I could see Mahomes going under owned a little bit, or really any of the guys other than Allen and Hurts. Probably
Mahomes projected for 5% ownership. He's definitely interesting because you don't know. He said before the year, you're not going to have any wide receiver who is consistently the number one guy. You can't really count on them. I think he might even been talking about for fantasy purposes, but he's been spreading it around so far. So that's the difficulty with Mahomes stack, but honestly just makes me like him a little bit better. Alex, you mentioned Jalen Hurts as a guy that maybe will be fading a little bit of the guys at the top end, maybe coming under the field. Anybody else?
Yeah, Hurts is the guy that really stands out. Other fades, I'm actually not seeing anyone else that really jumps out as a big fade. I guess Carson Wentz, maybe because like he had a pretty hot game week 1, so maybe he'll carry a little bit of residual ownership, but he's not projected to be super high owned in the first place. And then
he was like chalk last week. Like,
yeah, I know he was really popular. Yeah. And then Goff, I think he's a super fade for me because as much as all of the Lions, they run the ball way more than anyone gives them credit for. They've been more moderate this year, but at 44.7% rushing, which is above average, but like because they're always in these negative game scripts, like their box scores look like they just chuck the ball all the time, and that's not the case. So if they come out and have a good day, they might just run the air out of the ball.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not going to happen. Hopefully they will be just chucking the ball at the end, down 30 to the Vikings in the fourth quarter. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. We got a question from, I think it was from Brandon Wagner. I can't actually find it now, but he asked, would you be willing to throw out Hurts with Miles Sanders, Alex?
Well, I think that I wouldn't do that as like the only player on the Eagles. Like Sanders doesn't really receive the ball very much. He only has a 12-yard projection on receiving yards, so that doesn't really like have a ton of correlation. But I do like if you have Hurts, getting like AJ Brown or Dallas Goedert, and then throwing in Miles Sanders. That's much more of a strategy I'd use.
Okay. Yep. That makes sense to me. All right, guys, that'll do it for quarterbacks. Let me tell you, you can get access to all of our Stokastic Plus NFL tools for showdown and single game slates for only $1. Click the link in the description of this video below or use promo code PRIMETIME, all caps, at checkout to get 1 week of our NFL Primetime package for only $1. This includes full access to all the premium content and tools for NFL DFS that we have to offer for showdown and single game slates, including player projections, ownership projections, top plays, lineup builder, and our expert Discord. This offer is only valid through September 29th. Please note that Fantasy Cruncher is an add-on and is not included with this promo. All right, guys, let's move on to running backs.
Real quick, we have to say that Alex won the Millie actually with that strategy. He had the Russ, Rashad Penny, and DK Metcalf strategy. The same week that I won my Millie is how I am in tune with that.
That's why you remember it. Yeah, that makes sense. I still remember how Fantasy Guru Drew did on week 7 of 2020 because I won the Millie the same week that he won like $250,000. So it's funny how we have those connections with players who win on the same day as us. We remember how they did it because sometimes it's pretty different. All right, yeah, good call out there to Alex's strategy.
Yeah, let Russ cook.
Let Russ cook, exactly. I think Russ is done cooking at this point. I don't know. No, probably not. All right, let's talk about some running backs. Liam, I'll start with you. Are there any running backs who are a little bit chalky? And let me pull up the running back so I can see kind of the cutoff here for chalk. Say above like 10% owned. Are there any running backs above 10% owned that you are willing to eat the chalk? And I'll just name them off. We've got Jonathan Taylor, Damian Pierce, Delvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, David Montgomery. Any of those running backs that you would be okay eating the chalk?
The only one I think for me is probably Josh Jacobs, just for the salary relief. But again, if you're going to build the Josh Jacobs elite wide receiver team, I feel like most of the field is going to be doing that too. So Josh Jacobs is a guy I could see myself eating, but that Titans team just looks like a mess, man. But the other guys,
Jonathan, you mentioned paying up for a couple running backs with Jonathan Taylor.
I just like some other running backs that are not going to catch ownership in those salary ranges. So that's more inclined what I'm going to do. But I mean, you could always pay up for these guys and get unique again.
Right, exactly. Okay, so Josh Jacobs, the one that you think that you'll be willing to eat some chalk a little bit just because of that price tag. makes sense to me. Eric Traub just taking advantage of his new membership to troll us. Now he sent us a super chat already, so I guess we can accept that 99 super chat. And now he's adding another, because he's a Stokastic member. He can do a free super chat and says going to chew up the Vikings like Skull. We'll see about that, Eric. I'd be more worried if this game were in Detroit. And honestly, it's the Vikings, so I'm never all that confident. But I think the Vikings are going to win this one. I put one of my two remaining survivor picks. I took the Vikings, so I am confident enough for that.
You guys Alex, have a strong Lions and Vikings fan base.
we do. We bring in the Vikings and Lions fans. If you want NFC North takes, come to Stokastic, because we've got a lot of fans. All right, Alex, how about you? Any of those running backs that you're willing to kind of eat the chalk?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fournette is pretty interesting. Tampa Bay has they really don't have any other running backs that they give very much workload to. So like I was a little bit worried that his workload would be around the same as last year, where he ran the ball like 50-60% of the time most weeks. But Ronald Jones is no longer in the team. They got a rookie, Rashad White, as the only other running back that has been playing. So his playing time, Fournette, just is elite. And then you have a team that he gets a lot of passes because it is a quarterback in Brady that doesn't scramble a ton. So I think that Tampa Bay, it just seems like they haven't really gotten the offense going that this year, and their team total is only 21, but I still like Fournette.
Did you see how that over under has moved since it opened? Does that it opened at like 48 and was bet down to like 42.5 or something outrageous like that? I don't know.
Yeah, the Bucks implied total at opening was 25.75. Now it's down to 21.75, and Green Bay down from 22.25 to 20.25. So yeah, they have moved significantly. I had not noticed that. That's pretty funny. But also, Alex, I don't know if this factors into your take at all, but Leonard Fournette went on Twitter, I think, and apologized to fantasy owners for his lack of touchdowns so far, and promised that they would be coming. Does that factor in for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you gotta love it when he's actually in your corner when you have him on your team, and not like man, it's like Sanders. Been so long, but like Todd Gurley, he just dove at the 1 yard line like intentionally. Like it's like you hate to see that. Like I want a guy that's trying to score fantasy points.
Well, Todd Gurley, as you might know, Alex, failed to get down at the 1 yard line, and as a result, I won a milli. That was the accidental touchdown that won me a milli. I appreciate the failure. I think he actually had succeeded at it at some point as well. Yeah. So maybe that's what you're referring to. But always one of my favorite plays of all time was that failed touchdown for Todd Gurley. All right, let's move on and talk about some more contrarian plays at the running back position. Liam, I will start with you. Any running backs that you like who are below like 5% projected ownership?
Well, I'm not sure what his ownership is, but I'm wondering if DeAndre Swift is going to come in lower.
6%. 6%. We'll count it.
Yeah, I think he's a great play because I think people are going to want to play Amon-Ra, and they're going to look at, like, the game log watchers are going to see that he only got 5 attempts last week, and that he is still a little banged up. And again, that Minnesota D is letting up like 5 and like almost 6 yards a carry, and Detroit O-line is just like road paving people. So I love Swift as a guy. Like, he eventually the touchdowns has to come. And then in the cheaper range, like I would take some stabs at like the Michael Carters, the Breece Halls. If we're getting real gross, maybe some Jerick McKinnon, some James Cook. If you're building like $20 milli maker teams and you're trying to get like 0.1% owned guys, I could see those guys sneaking in there.
Yeah, we've got Jerick McKinnon actually at 2.1% projected ownership, a little bit higher than I would have expected, but he's on the Chiefs and he can certainly do some damage. Michael Carter is at 4.5% projected ownership, so looking good there. Breece Hall looks like we've got him at 0.7% projected ownership, so no ownership at all on Breece Hall. So some good call outs there. Alex, how about you? Any running backs below like 5% projected ownership that interest you this week?
Yeah, I mean, running back is a spot where there aren't always plays that are super low owned that are great, but I'm seeing some guys they are above 5%, but I still think they're like going a little bit under the radar, like Christian McCaffrey. He's priced up and he hasn't really performed to this point. So I think people are going to be off him. So I think this is a good time to dive low. Derrick Henry, it's kind of the same logic. He got benched week 2, but yeah, he's only averaged 8 fantasy points per game so far this year. So I think no one's going to play Henry. So I think that's pretty intriguing. Like, I know it's like 5 weeks a season. It seems like he breaks the slate. So if he's only 7% like we have him today or Sunday, that's huge.
Yeah, that looks really good. All right. What about any fades for you, Alex?
Fades. Miles Sanders, I suppose, could be one. Austin Eckler, he's just too expensive for his workload, so that could be a possible fade. But to be honest, like, Antonio Gibson, I guess. It looks like they're just big underdogs versus Philadelphia, and Philadelphia being a really good running team that can lead to a lot less plays for the opposing team. So Antonio Gibson looks like a big fade for me.
Okay. Yeah, these guys all look like they're going to be over-owned in the boom bust tool. Not surprisingly. How about you, Liam? Do you have any running backs that you think you're going to be fading this week?
I have to kind of decide if I'm going to eat the elite wide receiver chalk for my builds, and that kind of like depends. So I'm going to, like, just the way I'm building like an expensive team. So I have to, like, really one team is important to me, but I don't see myself clicking these expensive running backs when there's like all the chalk guys you mentioned are chalk for a reason. And like, I don't know. I don't see myself going up to the Taylor, Derrick Henry, McCaffrey range, but who knows what I'll reveal on lock, you know?
Okay. So you're going to kind of wait and see a little bit with some of these guys, how the ownership comes in.
Yeah.
All right. All right. That'll do it for the running back position. So let me tell you guys about our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks offers daily prop-based contests. You can click in the chat for $100 first match deposit bonus. Maybe below the video, click for a $100 first match deposit bonus on Prize Picks. No sharks, optimizers, or mass entries on Prize Picks. You create 5-player lineups that can net up to 10x your entry fee. Use your knowledge of multiple sports with cross-sport entries. Click the link in the video description below to head to prizepicks.com or download the Prize Picks app in the App Store or on Google Play. Alex, can I throw a couple Prize Pick questions at you? A couple over-unders? Yeah. All right. What do you think of Joe Burrow at 263.5 pass yards? He's one of my favorite quarterbacks this week, but I don't know if the numbers bear it out. What do you think about that 263.5 pass yards number?
Honestly, like, I'm pretty indifferent on that one. So we have him at 275 in the projections, and then you got to factor in that the median is slightly lower than the mean in NFL. So that one looks pretty even money to me. But that's the nice thing about Prize Picks is you can kind of just, if you don't like either side of it, but they got more than enough to choose from. So I think there's some great props we can get.
Do you have any in mind, or do you want me to throw one or two more at you?
Well, I think the lines on Prize Picks are pretty similar to the regular sports books. So I think some of the guys that I'm feeling like, I don't know if there's a Elijah Moore receiving line, but he's just not getting targets this season, and I don't really have confidence in the Jets.
We've got him at 49.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, so I'm getting a big under on Elijah Moore, and then I'm getting an over on Michael Carter because, like, they've been game scripted out of running the ball at all, but he the lines for him are super low for running.
Okay, so in on some Michael Carter lines, out on Elijah Moore. Liam, I did not tell you I was going to ask you anything about Prize Picks, but I feel like this one, you don't even need to do your projections. I can just ask you for your gut opinion here. Josh Allen, 275.5 passing yards this week.
That's an easy over. Smash that over.
I had a feeling that might be an easy over for you. Okay. All right. That's good enough for our Prize Picks props, plenty of good
Mortgage
props
the
to find
house,
there.
put it down, 270 over.
Yep, love it. 275.5, still same thing. 275.5.
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
He's getting
I assumed as much. Yeah. If I were able to sports bet, I would just straight up just go look at OddsShopper. You can find all of the lines that we have on OddsShopper and compare those to these on Prize Picks and make some money that way.
Nice little 420 entry right there. I saw on the screen.
That's what. All right, I don't know what you're talking about with the 420 entry.
That was the bet it showed.
Oh, okay. Nice. All right. I wasn't looking at that screen, so I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But okay, good. Glad I clarified that. All right, let's talk about 2100. All right. Let's talk about some wide receivers. And once again, let's start by just talking some chalk. This is on the contrary. So we have to talk about all the chalk. I just like to touch on, like, if there are, since this show is mostly about contrarian plays, I like to touch on just some of the chalk that, sometimes you might be willing to eat. I will start with you, Alex. Are there any chalky wide receivers above, we'll say once again, around that 10% cutoff line that you're just okay with eating the chalk?
Yeah, I think Stephon Diggs at 7,700 on DK, that's quite a bit too low. And I think the reason that price came about is because they had released salaries before that Monday game where he went absolutely ham. So he looks like an amazing value. Like, you can't really fade a guy like that. So he'd be my chalk play that I'm in on.
You couldn't have left that one for Liam?
Oh, shoot.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
I'm kidding. Liam, I assume you're also willing to eat that Stephon Diggs chalk?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple other guys that stick out as just, this is, again, like the lowest salary I feel like we'll see them at. Like, I would say Amon-Ra, AJ Brown, and then you go down the list and it's like, I don't know how chalky some of these guys are going to be. Like T. Higgins, for those people that were in the best ball streets, that's a second round, third round pick who is now priced the same as like Alan Lazard and DK Metcalf. So there's some guys that stick out if you've been in the redraft streets or whatnot. You're like, well, this is just too cheap. And I don't know how the field's going to react to game logs versus and whatnot there.
I definitely let best ball prices relative to DK salaries factor into my decision making sometimes, and I can't decide if that's a flaw or a benefit of doing best ball all summer. But I definitely noticed those same kind of pricing inconsistencies with some players. And yeah, you see T. Higgins at 6,100 below Christian Kirk 6,200 now. So the price looks right for T. Higgins. I'll throw another chalk name at you. Cooper Kupp is 9,900 this week, and I'll start with you, Liam. I posted this on Twitter. Are we getting too cute by not just jamming in Cooper Kupp in all of our lineups every week? Because it seems like he never fails. Is there any merit to, going even or above the field on Cooper Kupp at 9,900 this week?
Well, I mean, if we're talking like winning the $20 Millie Maker field, I think the question with playing a player as expensive as Kupp, like, I'm confident he's going to get 30, but the question is, does the salary remaining allow you to build the nuts? Because sometimes you need a balanced build. Sometimes it's okay going stars and scrubs. So I'll always play Kupp a little bit, but I mean, you have to think about the whole lineup that you can build around Kupp. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Alex, are you on the same page that you're going to play some Kupp, but it has to be in the right lineups?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Rams stack, so I might have a lot of Kupp plus Stafford probably. But I agree with Liam that the price point, it is pretty restrictive. So it's like, even though we're able to identify that he's like a killer fantasy player, that like it's a little bit tough still to fit him into lineups, but definitely someone I'm going to have some significant amounts of.
Okay. Ryan Stamazzi says, LOL, when did 10% become chalky? And honestly, Ryan, that is true. 10% is not really chalk. It's just what we have to work with this week. We don't have that many players who are above 10% owned. We don't have anybody in like the 30+% range. So relative to other players on this slate, 10% is chalky. But that's why we ask the questions, because maybe if everybody's under 20% owned, maybe you're willing to eat all of the so-called chalk.
What are the
relative chalk?
What are the two Dolphins guys coming at for you guys? I'm really curious.
In terms of projected ownership?
Yeah.
We got Tyreek Hill at 10.8% and Jalen Waddle at 8%.
Interesting. Because I mean, I started the week and I was like, well, I don't want to play these guys. Bills D's really good. They've been kind of shutting it out, but I mean, everyone seems to be injured from Buffalo now. And again, they're trotting out like a 6th-round corner and a 1st-round corner rookie. And then their other corner went to the hospital. I hope he's okay. But, and I mean, it just seems like Mike McDaniel can scheme them the ball, but I'm undecided if I'll play them in Bill stacks or just go like Bills onslaught.
Was that the cornerback that everybody thought was like dead? Was that game?
Yeah.
I missed the play and I was like, I kind of want to go watch it, based on what everybody's saying. Like this guy looked like, I didn't go back and watch it. I decided I don't really want to see this guy, maybe have like a life altering injury. I don't know what the actual ramifications were of the injury, but I did not go back and watch that one. Okay. That is good to hear. All right. We have talked enough about the so-called chalk. Let's talk a little bit about the contrarian options. Alex, I'll start with you. Are there any wide receivers that you like in the 5% or lower kind of range?
Well, I'll throw some love to Devontae Adams, who's at 8%. He is someone that, like, compared to the other options around his price point, like he's going to be overlooked because he had a dud last week. 5% or lower. Ben Skoranek for the Rams. He has been getting a crazy amount of playing time, but he hasn't really put up a spike week yet, I guess. So I think that at 3,400 on DK, like he's a guy you could throw some lineups, and then Tyler Lockett. He's been really having a good year, even despite the quarterback change, it seems like. So he's only 3%. I don't think anyone's going to be really targeting that Seattle squad, and that Seattle versus Atlanta game in general is going to be something people are going to gloss over. So I like having some pieces of that.
You said Tyler Lockett?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks great in the boom bust tool. Yeah,
Pete
Ben
Carroll
Skoranek
said he wants to let Gino cook.
Yeah. I hope he really did. He didn't actually say that, I assume.
It was backwards because he's like, yeah, I want to make sure Gino's throwing the ball a lot or something like
okay.
that.
He didn't actually say let Gino cook, because
I don't think he said
that would be a pretty incredible troll. I couldn't see Pete Carroll making that kind of troll, but I would absolutely love it if he did.
Yeah.
Alex, you called out Ben Skoranek. I just wanted to touch on that. So I as you know, I do the Theory of DFS show. I'm the regular guest with Jordan Cooper on each week on Mondays, and we talked about Ben Skoranek a little bit because he was a guy that I was high on last week. Jordan was saying that he didn't think that Skoranek has the upside to put up a big game. Do you disagree with that? Because I tend to think that he could. He just needs to, put up, make a few more catches, score a touchdown. Alex, do you see a big upside for Ben Skoranek at 3,400?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the variance in football is just insane with receivers. So it doesn't matter if it's like Ben Skoranek or any other guy that, like, if we have him pegged at 9 fantasy points, which is about where we have him, like any week he could be in between like 2 and 18, Right. So it's like we only have a rough average, but the obviously touchdowns are a big part of that, where he has a low percentage chance of getting a touchdown, but when he does, like that will help him. He's 6'3", so I think that he's a decent red zone target, and he's just out on the field a ton. So okay, I think that there's some good reasons to go to him.
Yeah, that makes me feel better because I played a lot of him last week. I think there's a good chance I'll play a lot of him this week too. So good to hear that perspective. Liam, I'll throw it to you. Are there any wide receivers around 5% projected ownership or lower? And I know you don't have the exact numbers in front of you, but are there any receivers that you're expecting to be contrarian that you like this week?
Yeah, I'll give you a bunch of gross names. I'll start with like the Vikings secondary has been letting deep bombs all year. Like Christian Watson dropped one, Quez Watkins got there. So DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds are guys I'd sprinkle in. Chark's routes are a little bit down, but Reynolds is up and they both kind of run deeper. MBS, I'm not sure what his ownership will come in at, but he's a guy's on the field. The Chiefs could put up like 40 against this team.
4.3% for MVS.
Yeah, MVS definitely. And then I try to be ahead of all of the exciting rookies before they start becoming chalk in the field. So, those are players like the Chris Olaves. Maybe he's going to be really owned, but like the Traylon Burks. And then Some of like the grosser guys that I'm sprinkling in are the Bucks receivers, Perryman, Scotty Miller, and the Green Bay guys. And then even like that Baltimore secondary is pretty trash right now, pretty injured. So whatever, take some shots at the Nelson Aguilars, the Devontae Parkers, those type of guys.
I saw a post on Twitter. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, so I can't attribute it to somebody, but somebody on Twitter said, people often tell me that you really like rookie receivers. And he said, no, it's not that I like rookie receivers. I like high volatility and a shot at big upside. And those rookie receivers are really, they have the ability to really outperform expectations. You're less likely to get that with like a 7th-year receiver for a guy to just spike out of nowhere. So I like that call. I mean, it applies to season long and best ball, but it also applies to weekly DFS because, these receivers sometimes can step into bigger roles. They're more likely to than the veteran receivers. So I like that call out of playing some rookie receivers in some of these lineups. I've been doing. We just saw it last week with Garrett Wilson. Came out after week 1, people are like, "Oh, he was the worst pick in best ball. He was so terrible." And now it's like, "Oh, Garrett Wilson is the best pick in best ball." So I like that call.
And
out.
I would do that with the running back too. Like eventually, Breece Hall's got to get there, right? So like, sure, you're gonna like light a bunch of slates on fire playing him, but when he's 0.7% projected owned or something, like. Eventually the Jets might look themselves in the face and be like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Adam Bomb Mother says Neil Garrett Wilson at 5,400. And I say, yes, I kind of do like Garrett Wilson in part because I really like doing some Bengals stacks this week. So I think I'm in on that game and I'll be throwing some of those Jets receivers back. Alex, are there any rookie wide receivers that you're particularly interested in this week?
I have to admit, like I'm usually a rookie fader, but Drake London, he's been fantastic so far, and it seems like just because that game with Atlanta and Seattle is not popular, he's somewhat interesting. He's really the rookie that I'm seeing here. The fade for me is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a 2nd-year guy, so I'll count him, but I just feel like he's on this like crazy hot streak, and if you, like in NFL, it's like the variance is so big that like some of these outlier performances happen, but it just easy he could bomb this week. So I think especially with Detroit being kind of mediocre and tending to run the ball a decent amount, that people might be a little bit overconfident in him.
But it all depends on whether there was a rookie or a player who was taken ahead of him in the draft on the opposing team, right? So I don't remember if what year Amon-Ra was drafted, or if there were any Vikings receivers taken before him in the draft, so that he has vengeance in his heart. I just don't know if there were any Vikings. So
he's probably mad about Justin Jefferson. He's like,
you think
people are talking about JJ and not me.
Yeah, you're probably right. People are
looking
he's
himself
probably pissed
in the mirror, like real crazy.
Yeah. All right. Where were we? We talked about Liam. Did you have any major fades at wide receiver this week?
I started the slate trying to fade Tyreek and Waddle, but again, I want to monitor the Bills D there. And then other than that, like it's so high variance that I don't really see this. This feels like a slate that salaries tightened up on us, where the first 2 weeks there was just like a bunch of free squares. So I kind of feel like things are going to be super spread out. Or if they're not, you should get spread out with your teams.
Okay. I like that call. And Alex, you said, is Amon-Ra St. Brown your favorite fade at wide receiver this week?
Yeah, he's definitely my favorite. I mean, we can talk fades all day, but so maybe I'll come up with another one here. But actually, like he really stands out as kind of the fade. But yeah.
Okay, he's the one. He's the fade.
Yep.
All right. We'll take it. All right. So that'll do it for wide receivers. And guys, let me tell you, you can get access to our expert sports betting picks straight from your favorite OddsShopper personalities with our OddsShopper Premium Insider Discord. Click below to browse packages from 6 of our experts. And with each, you'll find a coupon for your first week completely free. With each package, you'll get access to their insider subscriber channel within the Stokastic Discord, as well as our other OddsShopper betting channels available. There's no cost to you to give this a shot for a week. So click below to get started now on the OddsShopper Discord expert picks. All right, guys. So that'll do it for wide receiver. Let's move on to some tight ends. And Liam, I'll start with you. Are there any tight ends this week that you're expecting to be relatively high ownership, but you're okay with it? You're gonna eat some chalk at tight end?
I know Irv Smith will be high owned because he's like 31. So I'm inclined not to go there just because tight end is naturally a really high variance position where it's basically like binary. Did they score a touchdown? Yes or no? I'm sure I'll do some if I end up stacking that game, but other than that, I don't like, is Logan Thomas catching ownership to you guys or?
We've got Logan Thomas at 3.4%.
Yeah. That's like, to me, that's like the easiest pivot ever is like, just pay up the 400. Logan Thomas is getting targets downfield. He's earning more snap times as he gets healthy. But like, who else is catching ownership to you? Is it Kelsey? I don't know if people are.
So our highest owned on the main slate, Tyler Higbee, we've got coming in at 13.2%, TJ Hawkinson at 9%, Mark Andrews at 8.6%, and then Irv Smith at 7%.
I'm shocked Irv is not one there. Just because he's so cheap, but yeah, I'll fade all those guys other than Andrews. I think every slate you can play up at elite tight end, and you're going to get a little different from the field. Same with running back. I think Kyle Pitts is in a great spot because I think against the Rams, teams are keeping their tight ends to block a little bit more with Aaron Donald, and I don't suspect that to continue.
Okay. And let me just throw our 5 highest owned guys at you and ask you if you're willing to go above the field on any of them, chalk that you're willing to eat of this group. So we've got Tyler Higbee at 13.2%, TJ Hawkinson at 9%, Mark Andrews at 8.6%, Irv Smith at 7%, and then Travis Kelce at 6.1%. Any of those tight ends that you think you're okay eating and going above the field on that ownership?
I would say Kelsey, Andrews, and Irv for me. And the other two, I'd probably fade.
Okay. Sounds good. Alex, how about you? Are there any high owned tight ends that you think you're comfortable with the ownership and potentially going above the ownership this week?
Yeah. I mean, Higbee, I think he looks really good. So especially since I'm planning to have Stafford, I think Higbee, he's been running routes on about 87% of dropbacks so far this year, and he's getting targeted at a very high rate, 25% so far. Don't expect that rate to continue, but still he looks fantastic at that price point of 4,500. So I think even though he's the most popular, he might be even under-owned a little bit.
Okay, I like that. It's an overweight to the chalkiest tight end. I like that call. What about contrarian picks then? Guys who are, Alex, I'll throw it to you, guys who are 5% or lower, around that kind of range. Are there any guys that really stand out to you as players that you want to be playing this week?
I'm always willing to stack up a bad tight end, and if I have the quarterback, so that's a great strategy in my opinion, because tight end is a very weak position this year, it seems like. But as far as individual players, Kyle Pitts, I feel like he's been really disappointing. So that's kind of the quintessential contrarian spot. And then it looks like Gerald Everett. No one's on him for some reason, but he's been performing really well. So we'll see if that continues. But he looks like a great play right now.
Do you think you would play Gerald Everett if Justin Herbert is out this week?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't been following that a ton, but obviously once we get that news, that would be I think based on everything I understand about this rib injury, it doesn't seem like something that would keep people out, but
okay,
you never know. If he's out, that means Chase Daniel is going to be the starter, and that's a big downgrade.
I think he's fine. He's practicing with pads on. He's warming up yesterday.
It's good to hear. I've got Justin Herbert on my keeper league team, so I do not want him to be missing any time. I also have Gerald Everett, so love that combo. How about you, Liam? Any players, any tight ends that you're expecting to be kind of contrarian that you're planning on playing some this week?
Yeah, I'll give you 4 names. If Dawson Knox, we got to monitor that foot injury, but just attached to an elite quarterback and naturally is going to get you off of Diggs ownership. Hayden Hurst, Tyler Conklin are guys getting targets and they're playing in the same game. And then Logan Thomas, I really like him and Evan Ingram, 2 cheaper guys getting targets. And I mean, Philly is always dominated in the middle of the field. That just seems like their defensive philosophy is to like let targets flow through the middle of the field. We just saw Herb do it against Philly, so I'm jamming Logan probably.
All right, I like that call out. What about fades, Liam? Any fades at tight end for you?
Well, the way that you read out the ownerships to me, it doesn't really seem like anyone you need to fade. I probably will fade this Everett and Higbee. I expected them to catch a lot of ownership. Higbee, it just seems like, look, I know that he's getting a ton of targets recently, but again, that was against the Bills defense and against the Falcons. I could see like Higbee just being $1,500 more than the other tight ends. And it's like, really, other than the elite tight ends, they're all the same to me. I don't put Higbee in the elite tier. Like, I don't think he's like underpriced.
Okay. We got a specific question about Goddard. Richie Small has asked no Goddard for you guys. The reason we're not talking about it is because he's not really chalk and he's not really a contrarian play. He's getting 6% projected ownership on this slate, but he does look good in the boom bust tool. So I'll ask you first, Liam, do you have interest in Dallas Goddard?
I think he's a guy who could become elite. So I think that naturally should make you interested. And also, if AJ Brown's catching ownership, maybe that's how you get unique with your Hurts stacks.
Yeah, that's a good call. How about you, Alex? Any interest in Dallas Goddard this week?
Yeah, I think Goddard's fine. It's a situation that I'm not as keen on as like Higbee because they pass the ball a lot less in Philadelphia, but he hasn't gotten targeted a lot this year either, but he's only gotten targeted on 12% or 13% of passing plays. So I'd say he's definitely a buy low guy because it seems like maybe people are overrating how good the other tight ends are, but it just seems like all of them are a little bit overpriced this week.
Okay. And then any fades for you this week, Alex?
Fades. Hate to be lame, but fade the Lions guy, TJ Hawkinson.
Oh yes,
fade the Lions guy.
Yeah, I think I'm just still concerned about the passing volume for all these guys, and I think that like for some reason the market always seems to be higher on him than what he actually does on the field. So he's only averaged 32 yards per game so far this year. He does have 14 targets in 2 games, but I think that I'm always comfortable fading Lions receivers even if they look good.
Okay. A fun trick that Greg always does on our Saturday show is we talk too long about all the other positions and we just skip over defense because we don't have time because Greg doesn't like talking about defense and what can you really say? I'll open the floor. I'm not even going to go through our regular structure. Alex, do you have any thoughts on defenses this week? Anything that you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, defense is all about finding a cheap team that has a shot at being good. So I'm really looking at the opposing quarterback. One of those teams, although I like the Rams stack, I also like the Cardinals defense on the other side. Stafford has been throwing a lot of interceptions, like not just this year, but last year as well. So I think that always gives that upside for a pick 6. For some reason, the Jets defense is kind of popping. I think it's the same logic where Burrow somewhat turnover prone and they're only 2,400. So I think as long as you're taking a team that is cheap, that the other team passes a lot, that it can be a pretty good situation.
Yeah, not a great offensive line for the Bengals either. So I guess that probably helps the Jets defense there. All right, Liam, do you have any defense thoughts this week?
Oh yeah, I love defense, man.
All right,
defense, tight end. We got to get nitty gritty.
Let's talk about it.
I'll give you 4.
Okay.
I think the Lions is like the cheap one I want to pay for in a game that could be a shootout. You know, like with teams passing the ball. They got that rookie defensive end who got a bunch of sacks last week. So I'll sprinkle in some Lions D if I pay down. The Bills D, if I'm trying to pay up and get unique, they're just outrageously good. Again, we got to check the health on those guys, but Miami's O-line's not that impressive. So I could see people fading Bills D because they want to play Diggs. They want to play Allen. They don't want to play Bills D with those two. And then anytime a team is like missing all its wide receivers, we got to think about playing the defense. So I think the Buccaneers and Packers D should both be in play. That could be an ugly game where both teams just try to establish the run, but if Brady's like, no, I'm going to pass it, and Scotty Miller is having balls bounce off his hands, that could definitely make them interesting.
I guess I could have just stuck with a regular structure because I didn't realize how much you guys were just chomping at the bit to talk about defense. You guys had some takes. So
it's one of the 8 positions, man.
That's right. So I'm glad we touched on it a little bit. But I did
9 positions. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the great thing about defense too is you got 22 players for this one spot. So
that's true.
There's a lot more analysis that can go into it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I also wanted to just talk about top stacks a little bit. So I wanted to, we've got a couple minutes left to go over favorite stacks this week. Alex, I'll throw it to you first. Any stacks that you love this week?
The Vegas stack is looking like a great buy low. And okay, let me take a look at the games here. Okay, so we got Cincinnati versus New York. I think people are going to be a little hesitant to game stack that one because it's New York Jets on the other side. So maybe Burrow's kind of interesting. And then, yeah, I think maybe Seattle's my crazy stack where Geno Smith has actually not been bad this year so far. He's averaged 6.8 yards per pass, it looks like. So that's pretty reasonably good. And he's got 2 great receivers with Lockett and Metcalf, so I think that could work.
All right, I like that call. Actually, before I send it to Liam, we got a couple super chats that I completely missed. So let me ask those real quick. Teddy Wayman asked, guys, what's your favorite quarterback and running back for a head-to-head matchup this week? Do you have any? Have you built a cash lineup or looked at cash at all, Alex? Guys that you like?
Well, I think that some guys that really stand out in cash, like Kirk Cousins, just because they've been throwing the ball a lot more in Minnesota this year, and they're facing the Lions. They have the highest team total, so he really stands out. Cook is a great option from the same team, and then other cash running backs are David Montgomery and Josh Jacobs, because Josh Jacobs is just way too cheap.
Liam, do you have any cash game thoughts on favorite quarterback or running back, or is that not on your radar?
Primarily a GPP player, spend a little, win a lot. But yeah, I think what Alex made sense. Like you can do Montgomery and Jacobs. Quarterback, either you should pay up and get an elite guy, or I don't know. I'd be tempted to roll with Mariota and cash and just get the salary relief.
All right. Do you play FanDuel at all, Liam?
Not really.
Okay, because our next question is a FanDuel specific question. I'll throw it to Alex. You could throw out your thoughts too if you want to at the end. Liam,
I won a half-point PPR website, so
that's true. That is a good point. So you might be qualified. All right, then I guess we'll start with you, Liam. Ryan Rienebaum asks, favorite stack for single entry on FanDuel.
So the reason I don't always play FanDuel is because like you can afford anyone, so it's just kind of like it doesn't feel that tight, but. Favorite stack for FanDuel, probably Josh Allen to Gabriel Davis.
Okay, interesting. And then Alex, I'll ask you the same thing. Do you have a favorite stack for a single entry on FanDuel?
FanDuel, yeah, the Raiders stack still my favorite on FanDuel, but another stack that looks really good is Jacksonville on FanDuel. So they look more advantageously priced on FanDuel, and the ownership is very low.
Yeah, 1.6% projected ownership for Trevor Lawrence. So price looks right there. I like that call.
And why I like Gabriel Davis for FanDuel is because he's leverage off of Diggs, and he's a guy who scores touchdowns. So assuming he's healthy, good for half-point PPR.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good call there. And what about so I guess for either side, do you have a favorite contrarian stack this week, Liam? Buffalo is our highest owned stack. We know that you like Buffalo, so we don't even have to get into it. We can if you want to. Are there ways? Are you going to just throw out like Isaiah McKenzie? Do it different? No. Tell me about your favorite stacks.
I'm curious what Davis's ownership will come in. Gabriel Davis, because he's like a guy people loved in the offseason, but then you had the ankle injury, so I feel like that's a way to get a little unique with your Bill stacks. The Bengals game is a game that sticks out to me. It just feels like it's an explosion spot for Joe Burrow. So you can even like double stack that one. And then Mariota to Pitts, like Martingale Pitts, you got to hit it eventually.
Okay. Yeah, that's that coming in only 2.7% projected ownership for Mariota. So that's definitely a contrarian stack. And I'm glad to hear you're on the same page as me with the Bengals. Joe Burrow coming in at 5.4% projected ownership. And I will answer your Gabe Davis. We haven't projected for 5.4% projected ownership. I think that maybe is a little bit more fragile than some, just because you're right. We don't really know how people are going to react to the week off after the big week one. And, he had all the hype in the offseason. So I think that's a more tough one to gauge what his actual ownership will be. But, if it is 5.4, that seems relatively low for Gabe Davis. All right. That will do it for all of our questions on this show. Liam, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at ChessLiam. You can find me there, and I make YouTube content too. Okay.
Alex, do you have any final thoughts?
I think that, this should be a fun slate. So I hope everyone has some good success this weekend. And it seems like the contrarian plays are plenty here. So we should be able to make some lamps that have a good shot at first in like a million maker or something. That'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, if you haven't already, please do give us a like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, and much more. Once you subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts when our shows go live. We've got in under an hour now, we've got, I believe it's Aton with Laffy and Ben Rasa doing an OddsShopper show. Then Aton's going to be doing a No House Advantage show this afternoon. The latest high stakes episode is coming out this afternoon, which I host. This week we had No Kane, No Game on, relatively unknown DFS player, but a really sharp guy and a great player who Alex actually pointed out to me, recommended him for the show. And yeah, he's a really sharp guy. So that was a fun interview. That's coming out this afternoon. And then of course we've got MLB Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock coming up later. Thanks for watching, guys. Good luck this weekend. Have a great weekend.
Good luck.